My friends, I am excited being here with you. It's been a ride in the previous year, and that's why I decided to continue the habit and shoot you another series of these so called shots of inspiration. And those are my favorite series because I go a little bit on a ramble on different topics. Today, we will talk about the courage to face the mirror. And I want to wish you all the best in 2025 and in the new year. You might be watching it never, you might be watching it in a year down the road. And this might also serve you and myself as a little retrospective to think about what have we achieved? What could we have done better? Where have we maybe forgotten to push through a little bit? Where have we really accomplished great things and which areas were a little bit lacking? And especially having the courage to face the mirror, I feel, especially this year, this time of the year, and in the times we live in, the challenges in our economies and in the world, I feel and fear a little, comes to the fact that people are too afraid to look inside. And I don't want to make this channel too airy fairy and thinking like, okay, you got to have a coach, you got to retrospect. But really, when you think about the epiphanies that you have in your life and business, really comes down to how well you know each other. And I have been on this path of resilience for a while because I will talk about it as well in the next sections and episodes. Some of these that you rewatch. I grew up on a farm and it was quite harsh in Eastern Europe, quite depressing environment and not really bright mood. So when you think today compared to where you maybe grew up, just like myself, it's actually quite fortunate how we live. And that's why I want us to focus on the right things, if you will, because I feel that in today's world, it's a lot about accolades. It's a lot about how can I accumulate more? How can I have more, power, money? And you see, especially if you see it on the highest levels in politics and in, maybe company, and people actually move really ahead and have some tangible results, everybody thinks is the right way. And I have this kind of tagline when you visit my LinkedIn. I'm aspiring humanitarian with tech at mind and fitness heart. And I feel that you and myself, we all have to find what really is important in this world. And talking now a little bit more about the courage to face the mirror, it's a little bit about holding a mirror close to your soul or close to your face. And it's really about the fears you have, the vulnerabilities where you fear like this part of myself people shouldn't know. And if you're like me, you want to be better leader, right? You want to be more effective and aspiring. You want to make a difference in the world or in your team. And oftentimes it doesn't come only to the pragmatism in terms of the strategies and tactics and consistency of doing these things, but it comes down really a lot to leaders character. And I've seen it in organizations that a lot of people don't have this, and they don't show enough vulnerability, and people tend to cling to their own perspectives even when it means that they will falter eventually. And the thing is, our ego often whispers lies of invincibility, and it's this whole desire of validation, and we feel like that's exactly the way. But often what happens, it blinds us to the profound beauty of imperfection. And I know this sounds very philosophical, but it's not. It's I feel that, generally what I want also to accomplish in the coming year in my own life a little bit more to, you know, not to succumb so often to the temptation of curating our lives so they look so perfect. And in this world, especially, we are so obsessed with appearances, the pose, the project, and we try to pretend and we try to be, somebody we are not. And it helped me in my life sometimes in the earlier part of my career. But older I get, I realize it's really people that I admire. And you could think of those Simon Sinek, Adam Grant, Tom Bilyeu and other people in our industry and in our actually direct environment who we really appreciate. And often why we appreciate them is because they lead authentically. And that requires more than polishing a facade. It demands really, if you think about it, courage. Kind of reminds us as well at sometimes that we need to admit that we are wrong, and embracing a little bit the uncertainty. So I want to give you a little bit the hint of that. So the first really strategy that I want you guys to take to the heart is really the courage to face the mirror. Again, this doesn't have to be esoteric or anything super deep, but it's, people that you really watch from a distance that you admire, often they have some type of self-knowledge. And I've noticed that, especially in today's time, a lot of people go through crises just because they want to make a better, more money, have better life, but especially turning a little bit again the lens from what matters to you, but also what matters for the society. And often what matters for the society is different than what matters to you. And if you can align those two things, like I'm trying to do, like I said, being an aspiring humanitarian, it helps you to actually start caring about things that actually improve our society and not just you. The second thing I want to talk about is the journey is etched. Oh yeah, journey is etched in struggle. And the thing is, what I want to say here, everybody has a story. Everybody comes from different background. We were born in imperfect conditions, and that often means that we need to remember that people struggle, right? We What we have gone through is often not something new, but your story is your story. And my story is a story of struggle. I was born in, wasn't born really a leader. I was, I would say the life's unyielding test shaped me. Growing in a small Eastern European town that was surrounded by hardship, and really because I grew up on a farm, my days were actually filled with labor, loneliness, and fleeting hope. I felt like life didn't really have opportunities for me. It just gave me challenges. And I felt that for many years I stumbled and I struggled under the immense weight. And I think also as I was growing up and then moved to the West, as I often talk about, I made many mistakes. I thought validation through accolades, possessions, hollow victories, and I mistook a lot of times kind of the superficial success for significance. And I think this is often what we do, chasing external rewards while neglecting the internal battles that are going inside of us. And that means often, ethics and how you treat different people. And the thing is, life teaches us, and I feel especially now what's happening in a society when one industry is not going well, another one maybe is, and when people get fired, that life is showing us that we need to break down some illusions that we have about ourselves and about our life. And that also happened to me. Some deeper truth emerged through these mistakes that I made and missteps and struggles that became lessons. And I feel, especially that's what I talk a lot now, is the resilience is the price. I speak a lot about this, radiate energy, really focus on your physicality. If you don't have good health, good fitness habits, aim to really improve your life, you don't have this positive spark, it's really hard. And that's exactly the second part, inspire courage, inspire resilience. This world needs leaders who are authentic and who step out there and say, hey, I want to really do it even if I don't feel like it. And that's where you can bring in really the shift. And this is the third point that I want to give you guys today, the leadership shift. We really start earlier. If you look at history of leadership, people leading through fear techniques and screaming, shouting. But if you really look at what matters now, it's it comes down to some profound wisdom and knowledge about yourself again. And I've been talking about this as well a long time. So if you are really interested in this topic, I know this is some for some people this is really hard to grasp because it's so much time you need to put into retrospection, and I don't want to make it sound so tough and difficult to do because it's not. It's really about consistency and trying to reflect really where you're at. But leadership is not found in nature of titles, wealth, and influence. It's forged in the quiet moments, in my opinion, which I learned a lot about when I was growing up in the Eastern Europe, in the Eastern European bloc and depressed society. So I kind of, I wouldn't say didn't have a choice, but from there, and it was the hard part for me, it's to act boldly and act for others, not just for yourself. And I think this is where I want you to have these and treat these themes that I'm showing you as blocks of strategies that you want to focus on, right? So leadership is really about I would say stop asking what can I gain and start asking what can you give? Where can you help? And again, mistakes have taught me strength isn't in isn't avoiding failure. It's really rising through obstacles, through challenges, and each fall. And sometimes it's very messy in the middle. Often it's in a messy middle that you struggle. But I feel the people I admire that I follow, they all wrestle with their fears, right? They are confronted with their flaws, and they emerge eventually victorious on the other side. And that's where, again, going to the start of the year, what really matters, it's our humanity. It's embracing how we can embrace our authenticity. And doing so, we inspire and show people that it's not about perfection, but it's perseverance that really matters. And I've, made my fair share of mistakes throughout my life, which led me where I am today. But throughout, I also was able to course correct and remind myself it's really about making a difference. And this is what I want to call you for. Make your call to greatness the theme of the year, right? Make your call of excellence. And again, these themes sometimes might sound very kind of big out there, big stretch goals, but isn't what life is about. It's about stretch goals. It's about doing what really matters. And often what I remember following some grades, like when I was young, I read a lot of books from Tony Robbins, and he talks about this notion of progress equals happiness. He talks about setting the standards a little bit higher. And that's what I want to do for myself right this year. I want to aim higher. I want to be better leader. That means taking certifications. That means studying, also really focusing on what I want to improve, right? I want to improve as a leader. So I read books about the CEO checklist. I read books from Adam Grant about how to think again. I really challenge myself to surround myself with weapons, as I call it. And not because I have to, but because I know that times are tough. And even if, I'm living in quite decent neighborhood and have really great job, and all of these things can always shift, right? So you need to again shift from possessions, and I talked to few friends recently about this, to purpose, from going from all these positions to recognition and contribution. So ask again, and that's what I'm doing this year. Ask myself, how much can I gain to help others and to impact people around me? And I thrive on this when I see other people improve, when I see other people get this aha moment, say, hey, I actually was too focused on myself and I didn't try to contribute to the society. And this is what great leaders do. They don't build followers, they build leaders, and they confront at the same time their darkest fears and try to make others see a light. So it's not about hoarding power, it's about creating legacies, generosity, wisdom, connection. And lastly, what I really see important, stepping forward, leading boldly, and failing with grace. And again, this sounds very like big themes, but for a reason, because we need to remind ourselves what really matters now in social, on the social media and on Instagram and LinkedIn. It's all about, I've done this certification. To be honest, I could care less. That's why I don't post such stuff, because it's totally irrelevant. What really matters is, are you able to rise with conviction when life smacks you on the face, right? Or when, the badge of courage, the testament of growth, the roadmap for, those to follow, to display that you are actually a linchpin. That's what matters. And this is why I want to really remind you guys again, start of the year, a little bit harder. I had the other day a similar topic that I was talking and using some acronyms from Michael Jordan, and I was also quite, out there a bit harder. But I feel we need this today. We need this focus on, and not just that we wouldn't get it, because I know you get these themes, but are you doing it? Are you doing it daily? This is something that I want to remind you. I know your life will be improving regardless if you do it, but do you want your life 10x? Do you want your life really wake up in 10 years and be like, oh man, I really cared about the right stuff and I actually contribute a little bit? And I know the other side of the coin is also there, because maybe just like myself, we are not famous, we are not, on the first page of the magazines, and maybe rightly so, because we lead quietly, right, from the back and or from the sidelines. But it doesn't mean we shouldn't not strive and try just because we are not visible. It's not, again, to remind you and remind myself about the accolades. It's about the challenges that we overcome and display of our character, which inspires others to lead as well. So the another thing that I want to show you, and the fifth truth, as I call it, is the truth about success. I know this goes a little bit together with what I just said, but I want to put it out there. People, myself included, don't have it figured out. I thought for a long time I have it figured out, and I always try every year. I'm very grateful for the epiphanies I had, and again, I, think it comes because I reflect a lot and I talk to people about this, and I talk to my partner and to my friends. But when we look on the magazines and there are no polished executives. There are celebrated influencers, but even on the cover, they falter, they fall. We all struggle, and not even me, not even you, and it's okay. And that's what I want to say. The success, I think the definition of success and how you're defining this year for yourself, think about it from a different perspective. Life isn't about certainty, and it's about discovery. And I'm deeply grateful to my partner for this, because we travel and we visit different countries. And in the past, I didn't look at it like that, because I felt like it's a little bit unfortunate that I have to travel, because I cannot work so much and I cannot do that and I cannot do this, and it just really distracted me. As at some point I realized, hey, life is really about connection. It's about the mosaic of lessons you create. It's about connections you make, the lives you changed. And then you see people living in countries like Philippines, and they live between four walls, have flip-flops, and they're happy. Don't say this is the life I crave, but it also puts it into perspective that here in the West, we are so unhappy and we always want more, and we actually have already everything. We have the warmth, we have the light, we have the water, we have the food. So this year, I want you to look at your life from a different perspective. When people struggle, I want you to embrace the discomfort. I want you to embrace the growth. Redefine your goals, prioritize character, connections, and contribution. Those are the things that you want to prioritize: character, connection, and contribution. And the fourth thing would be competence, right? You want to focus on your skills, but character, connection, and contribution should be your key areas to focus on. And when you do these things, really focus on first, okay, if I'm thinking about my year, and I'm telling you what I will be doing, right? Because long enough I was striving and always thinking how I need to, more money, I need to have this car, and I need to have this, and it's all fine and good, but it doesn't define you, it doesn't make you better. You're a caretaker of certain possessions, right? You're like a, landlord, and you have a certain place, and then you don't have it anymore because you sold it, and you need to part your feelings and part ways, and that's totally fine. So again, refine, a little bit your own personality, if you will, your values, and think about what really matters. And for me, it's about empathy. It's about living with integrity. It's about giving without expectation. And all of these things make me happy. Doesn't mean it will make you happy immediately, but if you have on your, little board every day, do one act of kindness compared to every day, try to hoard a little bit more money, it's quite clear that former will make you a little bit more happier and somebody else as well. And the final thing I want to give you guys is that legacy begins now. This is also a little theme that I believe is always postponed, and we don't strive so much about it just because, maybe where we come from and our grandparents, and we never had an example. But imagine, a leader that becomes, little bit stiff in his way because he's focused on the wrong things, right? He's focused on hoarding and he's focused on himself. But then when he actually switches his mindset and switches his approach and says, you know what, if I stop chasing and started contributing, imagine the impact you could create. You lean forward, you lean a little bit into your authenticity, and even, and this is inspiring for me, imagine our society if we elevated each other instead of tearing each other down, and we stopped competing for hollow victories. I know that our past is our foundation a little, but it's not the prison. Your mistakes are your teachers, but not your shame. And your struggles are your strength. There is a book that I have on my bookshelf, From Strength to Strength, really cool, but not your weaknesses. So I would challenge you, step into the new year as a leader who dares to elevate others, and lead with your heart, lead with your vision, and courageously. And I know you shouldn't, that doesn't mean you should forget your, tangible goals, and that you need to save money, and that maybe you used to do, your business ran six figure and now you don't run around six figure anymore. You should still aspire, right? Doesn't mean that you should stop striving for physical and, tangible things, but make it a year that, you turn your story into a beacon for others, a testament to the power of resilience and authenticity and purpose. Because many people, are just so caught up in a rat race that they forget that the world doesn't need perfect leaders. It needs brave ones. So be one. That's my message for you and message for myself. And I wanted to come across a little bit stronger today. I know it will not offend you or discourage you, because I know you're smart, you're strong, you're powerful. But remember, these six themes are very important, right? You want to face the mirror. You want to make sure that you understand, what's going on. You want to kind of understand your journey. And that means also, when you're reflecting, look back at the struggle and where you come from, and really start writing your own future story. And from there, you can start thinking, okay, how can I shift my leadership skills? How can I improve them even more? How can I start caring more? How can I help other people? How can I influence other people? And how can I, focus less on the title as well, and influence, and then really shaping this into this whole focus of going forward and tapping into your excellence, discovering your purpose, discovering what you are about. And I know if you have listened well, there is a lot of retrospection, a lot of reflection, a lot of, maybe even, it might sound very boring just to sit down and write things down. So don't, beat yourself up. I've been there too, and I'm there sometimes that I I still live my life, right? I have my responsibilities, and then I have my plans, and then it doesn't work out as I want. So I sit down maybe for 5 minutes and write something. But even that matters, right? Even the fact that you took time and that you thought about yourself and your future really can add to it and can add to excellence. And in the end, it's about these tiny decision moments. It's not so much about that you have to think, about huge topics, and because those should be your reminders throughout the year, that again, it's about character, connection, contribution, and competence, probably, because all of these things will require that you learn, relearn, that you meet new people and maybe do new things. And that's how you improve your excellence. And then it really comes as well to just understanding and being a little bit open to and vulnerable, if you will, to lessons learned, and don't take yourself so seriously. I would really say, if I could give you one advice that I should give myself probably 10 years ago, don't try to look so polished, don't try to look so perfect. People embrace people who are vulnerable, who sometimes get actually angry, and then find a way better next time. And that also comes with the notion of try to think about your legacy already today. Try to think about impact that you could create in 12 months. But imagine what it could happen, what it could be in 10 years or a decade or 2 decades. And that's the exciting part. So with that, I will leave you. I hope you are well on your way. Again, if you haven't done the goals yet, you can definitely reach out, connect with me. I'm more than happy to talk to you. I'm just gonna share my little humble link with you. You can use your QR code and just go directly to my LinkedIn and connect, because that's where I spend majority of my time. Even sometimes you might need a little inspiration, and that's what I try to do with my with my humble time. Just sometimes post some tech or kind of human related innovations, or even just things that will ultimately make you a little bit better. So thank you again for your time. Thank you for listening to this, watching this, and remember, people need you. People need your care. They need your service. They need your heart. And for your heart to show, you will need to go a little bit more to connect these two things, your heart, or a little bit your experience and your logic. And that's where I've seen my life thrive a little bit more. So until the next time, my friends, stay legendary, and I'm looking forward to meet you perhaps one day.